as we tend to keep our motorcycles for longer and longer periods, we tend to encounter issues during that lifespan. Now generally we will either keep them for longer periods because we can't afford to replace them, or there is generally nothing wrong with the bike and it has low mileage for that period of time. In this video I'm going to go over some issues I picked up on my F800GS Adventure since I've owned it now for over 4 years, and I'm also going to discuss some long-term maintenance that you need to be aware of. So hopefully if you're either an F800GS rider or you're considering getting an F800GS, whether that be the F800GS or the GS Adventure, this video is going to come in useful for you. My name is Ben and welcome to Éire, and I hope you're going to get the best possible value out of this video, and I hope you'll reward me with a like, and of course I'd really love to hear your comments in relation to what I'm about to show you and discuss in this video. So let's get started. Right, my first issue is the electric start button. Now initially when you're getting the bike started, nothing happens, and then of course you're fiddling with it, and eventually it fires up. So I think the contact is probably worn in that department. Let me know if you've come across an issue like that. It could be fairly common, I suspect, but lately it seems to have been okay. So maybe because I've been using the bike more, there isn't as much surface corrosion on the connectors or something like that. So it's something that does concern me though, but it could be something I'll have to address. So let me know down below if you've come across that issue. Right, my second issue is an intermittent display issue with the gear selector. Now sometimes I've been on the road, unfortunately I haven't been able to film it, but I've got a brief clip here and we can see that the gear selection change, it shows neutral, then second, neutral, then second. However, the main issue I had before is it's blank. It doesn't tell me what gear it's in. However, when I do select down and up, it then comes back and then goes out. So I suspect there's probably an electrical issue there. So let me know if you've come across an issue like that before, because it's something that's been plaguing me for the last couple of years. I've kind of ignored it because I suspect it's probably going to be expensive, but let me know if you've come across that. Well, my third issue is surface rust. Now the bike is just over, it's 11 years old as of the time of this video. It's approaching 12, so there is going to be some degree. It's been on the road prior to me. It's probably been on the road quite a bit. The mileage is still very low. I haven't really used it as much over the last 4 years, but there are areas that are kind of bothering me, mainly because I like to keep the bike clean. I mean, we all do. We always like our bikes nice and clean, but there's a surface rust that just kind of retracts from that, and it's mainly on the bolts. It's on certain areas. We can look on the back, some of the brake line and things have got a bit of surface rust on, so get a wire brush, kind of clean it up. But it just means we've got to keep that in mind. I mean, I replaced some bolts there on the front of the forks, and of course as soon as you take them off to replace wires, all the paint kind of chips off and then it's just open to corrosion. So it's just one of those issues you probably have to kind of adjust. Let me know what you guys do about it, but I mean, there's not really much I can do about it, but it really does kind of bother me. But I suppose it's just one of those things, when you have an older bike, you keep it for a longer period, you're going to have to put up with the rust on it. But let me know some solutions. Excuse the noise in the background. I've chosen a day to film when farmers are out using slurry on their fields, but there's not much I can do about that. But as I said, the right, the maintenance. We always enjoy spending loads of money on our bikes, don't we? Well, not for me. So far, the last just over 4 years, this bike hasn't really cost me much. It's been regularly serviced. I've done a brake fluid change. I think when I first got it, the battery was an issue. I think it had been sitting for a while, so I bought a new battery. So really, cost-wise, this bike hasn't cost me a lot. Also, the mileage is still pretty low. Anyway, I thought, let's look at some big items now, because we've had just regularly serviced. Nothing really has gone wrong with it. But I thought, let's get a quotation on the brakes. We'll do it with the sprockets and the chain, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I was like, how much am I going to put aside? I thought maybe 400 euros for the brake system. Well, I tell you what, I was majorly underestimated the cost of that, because the quote I got from BMW was 1,280 euros for the front and rear brake discs and pads. And of course I thought about that and I was like, OMG. And of course, luckily the brakes don't need urgently doing, so I'll probably still have another over a year on it. So I'm probably not going to do the brakes next year, probably because I don't have to. So it is a good idea to try and keep that in your mind, is check the bike regularly. If you are looking at buying a new F800GS, that is going to be a big cost, is the brake discs and pads. So make sure you go around it, just see if they need doing, and if they do, negotiate a deal with the potential buyer. But yeah, that was rather shockingly expensive. So if your brake discs are actually okay on your motorcycle, then you could just look at doing the brake pads. The price from BMW just to do the brake pads is closer to €300. I think it's just under that. However, it still seems pretty expensive to me. So it kind of looks like, maintenance-wise, the most expensive maintenance item on the bike is going to be the brake discs and brake pads. Right, the next biggest expense on my list was the sprocket set and chain. The same chain's been on the bike. I don't know how long the chain's been on there. I don't know if it's been replaced by the previous owner, but I haven't had any issues, and I thought, well, maybe it's time now to kind of put new sprockets and chain in. €550 for that from BMW. Now, I don't know if that is a good price. If that's a bad price, let me know down below. Is that something you've done with your F800GS? Also, if you are looking at an F800GS, be aware of these maintenance costs. So for me, I'm probably thinking of doing that for next year. It's on my little tick list. So we'll see how the budget works out. Something that has to be done, I think it's every, 15,000 miles, whatever the equivalent is in kilometers, is the valve clearance on the bike. Now, since I've owned it, I haven't done the valve clearance. The bike's been fantastic for over the last 4 years. I don't think I've done that level of mileage since I've owned it. However, €265 to do the valve clearance, and that includes a new gasket apparently. So that's going to be something I'll do for next year, and it's going to be on my tick list for that. Let me know, is that something you do all the time with regards to the valve clearance? Let me know if anyone hasn't done the valve clearance. It'd just be interesting to know. But so far the engine in this bike is ticking along nicely. Right, front forks. If you want to get the oil changed, BMW offer it. I think it was €200 for that. Now, before I bought the bike, the gentleman spent some money in relation to maintenance, and the guy who did the maintenance obviously did a whole bunch of videos in relation to what he was doing. So he'd replaced the fork seals and the fork oil back then. However, I'm not sure if it's something that I need to consider for next year, considering it has been longer. But again, I haven't really done the mileage. You'll have to guide me on that. Let me know, have you had the fork oil replaced on a regular basis? But that's something I'd really like to know, so let me know in the comments down below. Right, the other two items then, oil filter and oil, of course, €175 from BMW, which I thought I could pretty much live with that. Brake fluid change is going to cost you €90 from BMW, and again, I don't think that's too expensive, so that'll be probably a tick for next year as well. Right, so they're the issues I've had on the F800GS over the past few years, and it's interesting looking at the maintenance costs for this bike. It's a good thing I asked the right questions, because in my mind I was thinking a certain price and I was way under it. You know, if the brakes needed doing today, €1,280 is not what I have available for those brakes, so the bike would probably have to kind of stand for a while. However, that's not the case. There's still plenty left on them, thankfully. But hopefully this video has helped you, because it's made you aware on certain costs and things. You know, like when we go and buy a bike, sometimes we get a bit emotional and excited. We don't ask the right questions from the previous owner. Like, for instance, is there a service book? When was the last service done? What did you spend on the bike? Because if it's just oil and filter changes, it means that there probably is going to be some major maintenance down the line. And there's nothing worse than you've just spent £3,000 on a, let's say, a 2008, or £4,000 on a 2008 F800GS, and the next year you've realised that the sprockets need doing, the brake systems need replacing, and all of a sudden that amount of money you just spent, at least half of that is going to be in replacing a lot of these components. And of course it's going to sour the whole experience, and you'd be like, well, and then you blame the bike and say, oh, you know, typical BMWs are so expensive, and you know, that needs doing. It's because the previous owner didn't bother himself in actually getting the bits done. So it's vitally important you ask the right questions, you see if there's a service book, and you try and find out what has been done on the bike, because it'll make your life so much easier. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Hopefully you got the value you wanted out of this video, and you can reward me with a thumbs up. And of course, I look forward to any comments. If you've got an F800GS or an F800GS Adventure, you've had similar issues than what I've had, I want to know about it. Let me know down below. Are you considering an F800GS? What year? You know, it's important stuff that you need to consider, because otherwise it's just going to spoil your whole motorcycle experience, and it's going to sour it, and you'll just be upset over it. And you say, oh, I spent $3 grand on a motorcycle, but then I needed $2 grand to be spent on it. Sometimes we just don't have the budget for that sort of level of expense, and then you're $2 grand out of pocket. Thanks very much. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.